Hello and welcome to Talking Stars. I am your host Darren from Movie Reviews 101, and joining me today is my Steve Trevor, my very own Steve Trevor, Mr. Damien Riley from Riley on Film.
Hello. I'm wondering what's happening because I rowed my boat past an island and there were all women there.
So you're German now, not even American. Interesting twist.
No, I didn't land there, but I did see some guy did.
I don't think that was landing. That was falling with style, I think. A Buzz Lightyear special there.
Very well said.
So if you haven't guessed already,
I'd say so.
We're going to do what Wonder Woman did to the Batman vs Superman film, turn up late to the party to talk about the film and steal the show, of course. And, well, Damien, let's see what you thought of this movie in a simple sentence.
A very well prepared film that is fun for kids, but definitely also for grown-ups.
Simple sell.
I should work for the newspapers.
Or Disney, maybe. I will go with the simple sentence of, this is how you introduce a character to a bigger universe. Simple as that.
I like that. That leaves a lot.
Now we're going to start by not going too in depth with any spoilers. We're just going to look at Gal Gadot's performance as Wonder Woman. So Damien, what do you think of Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman?
I think she does a great job. We're in a non-spoiler territory here, so I want to leave it up to her to prove herself, because she really proved herself to my wife, me, everybody that I know. I think she was very well chosen. She herself is from Israel, and she has an ethnic look to her, but unless you really research about her, you might not know if she's Israeli or Palestinian. At least I wouldn't, because maybe I'm ignorant, but I thought it was an interesting choice when they picked her, because she does have a very beautiful and ethnic look to her. And I think of Linda Carter in the TV series as being sort of like, apple pie American, freckles. I don't know if she has freckles, but you know what I mean. So I wondered about that. But I have to tell you that she doesn't really steal the show because it is her show. But it's just wonderful to watch her. She delivers her lines incredibly, and she does these incredible slow motion kicks that I try in my backyard. I just can't kick in slow motion like that. So she's very talented and of course beautiful. I got my money's worth, let's just put it that way. I think she did a great job. She showed she can act, she showed she can do action, and she showed a certain humility, which I think made the movie a better movie.
Well, I think it would be a fair discussion to say that it would be hard to already see somebody else in this role. Mm-hmm. It could be argued that not necessarily on pure acting ability, but she's already got to the level of what Robert Downey Jr. has as Iron Man, what Ryan Reynolds has at Deadpool, or as Hugh Jackman has as Wolverine. You couldn't see someone else do it already. Like, you could look at other characters in this and go, they're easily recast. It's not going to be difficult to cast any of the rest of the cast again. And you could say the same with Batman and Superman. Nobody cares who's Batman or Superman. We change actor every 2 weeks anyway, and the Supermans are dreadful. All the Batmans are actors that are too established to be Batman, so they're just getting their paychecks. So this is a breath of fresh air to have pretty much an unknown coming in to take one of the more iconic and DC saving movies. Because let's face it, if this DC movie had sucked, it would probably be the end for DC.
Well, certainly, but they took a long time getting it out, so I'm sure they didn't take too many chances. I'm sure they had a lot of focus groups, and they put it in front of a lot of audiences. Well, just like when a big rock band like the Rolling Stones or REM or somebody would go on world tour, they would always hold a secret concert, to get everybody's opinions, and people they respected would come and, they'd let them know. It's kind of a focus group. They do that with movies too. So I'm sure they were aware of what you just said, Darren, and I'm sure the DC financiers were all too careful to make sure that this did not fail. But still, I don't think you can ever know, can you?
No, you can't. No, but it's an easier financial risk to have an unknown in your leading role who has the visual look for the character rather than a selling point, because the character itself sells the movie here. You're not selling this movie to me on Gal Gadot or Chris Pine. You're selling it on Wonder Woman, the cheesy nonsense 70s or 80s show that only America really knew. Unlike Batman and Superman, where we've had 4 versions of Batman on film. Well, if you include actors, you've had Affleck, Bell, Clooney, Kilmer, Keaton and Adam West. So you've had 6 Batmans. We don't care when you recast a Batman. It's boring now. Superman's the same. Like, they've notoriously been career killers. Like, out of all of the Batman actors, Henry Cavill's the only one that could maybe make a career for himself, and that he needs a lot of work. So this is because nobody knew what this was. You could put this in the same rank as all of the Marvel characters, if you think about it, apart from Spider-Man, who's overly cast. But you have your simple 4, Captain America, Iron Man. We'd never seen them on the big screen properly before. And this is what Wonder Woman's done. So that's why it works, having a relative unknown. You look at for Hemsworth was an up-and-comer. Robert Downey Jr. was a disgraced actor. Chris Evans was struggling, shall we say. He's good, but not the name that he is now. So that's what helps with this character. We see her. We'll go into more of her story in a bit, but we have to look at one other big name character, and that is.
I want to do that. Let me just don't write down what you were going to say, because I don't want you to forget it, and I don't want to interrupt you. But I do want to say that I did a little research last night, not related to the podcast, just my own interest, about a meme. Is that they call them memes? M-E-M-E. I always call them memes, and everybody tells me I think it's a meme. But anyway, a meme was going around. You may have seen it. It was like a retweet. And it said that she made $300,000 for doing Wonder Woman. And Henry Cavill, is it Henry Cavill? You've been mentioning his name. I'm not a really huge fan, so sorry.
I call him British Plank of Wood.
Well, British Plank of Wood was reportedly given, I think, $4 million to do his Man of Steel. So this feminist was very upset. And by the way, I'm a feminist. I don't mean to put down the moniker. I just mean it was clearly meant to be making awareness for feminism, which I'm all for. I don't think it was true, though. I wanted to look it up because I couldn't believe I liked Wonder Woman so much, and I was actually kind of angry that they would have gypped her so much. And as I looked at it, go ahead.
They don't gyp her. She has done nothing to do.
Yeah, right. That's what I was going to get into that. So you go on from there. You say what you're going to say about that.
If you're going to play the facts, let's have a quick glance at Henry Cavill's career, and we'll go and look at Gal Gadot's filmography. And if she has a good agent, like a certain Robert Downey Jr., who I believe also only got 6 figures for Iron Man, if you're going to tell me somebody who was pretty much a background character in Fast and the Furious 4, 5 and 6 and has done a small part in 999 deserves millions, there's something wrong with paying actors. I'm not going to sit here and say Henry Cavill deserves more, but that is the right salary to give for the first film, because you and I both know damn well there'll be a nice little cosy increase per film, and she has all of the leverage.
There will be an increase per film, but not only that she can sit, in Malibu or wherever she wants to call the Wonder Woman 2 people to come and present their offer to her. I mean, I was just involved in buying a house, so I'm thinking there's all these offers presented, and you say no, and say, I have the bathroom fixed, and go back and forth. So I don't think there'll be any back and forth. I think they'll be approaching her first thing. I mean, this movie's in the billions now, I think. So, I mean, they're going to be approaching her, and they're going to be saying, hey, let me give you easily $4 million. Maybe way above $4 million. So I think that's what you're kind of saying. It's not even going to be a question. There are very few people disliking this film, and the main reason is because of her.
I also think the meme you were referring to may have been on Jeremy Renner for Hawkeye. Because I know
apparently there's all kinds of problems with her facts, but I couldn't find anything that said how much she made. And I'm pretty good at scouring the internet. It was about 30 minutes I was looking. I couldn't find proof of what she made.
The story is that she got $900,000 for BVS, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League movie.
Aha. It was a package deal.
Yeah, so because she's an unknown commodity in the acting world, let's be honest, she could have been awful. But
yeah, I mean, it could have flopped. I was actually wondering a little bit, like I said, and I'm gonna get myself in trouble saying this ethnic word all the time, but just personal preference and all the stuff we're going through right now with stuff in the Middle East and terrorism and things like that. I actually was kind of wondering, how is she going to pull off the all-American Wonder Woman? But she does it. I'll let you, the listeners can decide. But in my opinion, I think she pulls it off. And she's not just American. It's like she stands for all people, and that's what's wonderful about the movie. But that gets into the spoilers part, so I won't talk anymore.
I don't think she is even American in the movie, or even meant to be anywhere near America. It looks like it's somewhere in
right, but Linda Carter was, and that's really the only other huge existence in people's consciousness other than the comic books, which I think are very American in the comic books, the ones I've seen. So I was talking about that. I wasn't saying necessarily the movie she came off as American. In fact, I wasn't saying that at all. Although you could argue she's on the American side of the war.
I mean, she's on the British side.
There you go. You know what? You're right.
On the human
which
side.
Which was the American side too.
The human side.
There you go.
And just to show you a few facts, if you're going to play your card, or that card people are playing, not necessarily you personally, Robert Downey Jr. only got $500,000 for the first Iron Man, and he was a known commodity in acting. To take that sort of money, you're sort of sat there going, that seems like the right sort of thing. I think that's the best way to put it. It's not fair to say, and you could probably do the same. Look at Chris Hemsworth, and you might be able to see how much he got for Thor. You probably could do the same with Chris Evans, and you can check those all out. And the first film, they usually all get quite a low salary, and then it gets into the stupid, as in 50 million he gets.
Yeah.
One of the stories is that apparently Cavill got 14 million for Man of Steel. No, for Batman vs Superman. No, for Man of Steel, not Batman vs Superman.
Well, Man of Steel, yeah. Wait, that's a whole, I don't want to get into that, because I liked Batman vs Superman. I know you hated it, right? Or am I remembering wrong?
I think it's incredibly flawed, but it could be fixed with a couple of better told
There you
stories.
go. I remember you said that, yeah. But, as far as she's concerned, I just think that the biggest hurdle that, she's gone over, I would say in her career, but definitely for Wonder Woman as a, not a genre, but what am I trying to say? The franchise, there you go, is that we've established here that when you're an unknown and you take a role, it doesn't matter what the role is, you're an unknown. So they don't know what you're going to do for the role. And like you said, we all know it could have gone badly, but it did. So that would be the, if I saw her, which, that would be kind of fun. Anyhow, no, but if I were to hang out with her, the high five that I would give her would be that she can continue as Wonder Woman and she can call the shots. It wouldn't so much be, you were the right one for the role, or give a high five to the director and the movie company because they picked the right one. That's not really the victory here. The victory is that she made it happen for who she was, and she's going to be Wonder Woman.
And just to complete the fact checking, apparently Chris Evans also only got $300,000 for Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah, because again, that was the first one.
And even the Avengers, he got $2 million, and Winter Soldier he got 3.2, which, when you look at what some actors get paid, that seems pretty low for the guy carrying the film.
It does, especially since those movies now are kind of like Wonder Woman in that people will guaranteed go see him, and he's the face of that. So I think as an actor, that would be the coveted position, to be the face of a superhero film that has staying power, that people want to see the next one. And I think Captain America is absolutely like that.
Yes. But I think we've gone through salaries and how good or bad she's been.
Yeah.
So let's just have a look at Mr. Steve Trevor, played by Chris Pine, the cocky American, because let's face it, we need a cocky American, who wants to try and save the day and become the hero of the world as we know it. And it could be argued that he kind of steals the movie because he is a superior actor.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to say he's not. He seems to be the one guiding her in a lot of the scenes. And that's not just because of the adventure, it's just you can see that he's almost helped her understand how to perform the scenes.
Yes.
Because he's done this before with Star Trek, with other franchise basic films, shall we say. Mm-hmm. So he's perfectly cast. I think you are a big fan of him.
Yeah, more or less.
So if we're going to just skip over, because a lot more of his character will definitely come through in the stories. We will go into Storyland now. Spoiler land.
That's good. That's perfect. It's right on the 20-minute mark, so perfect.
And we're going to see what we think of the adventure. So the best way to do this, I feel, is to go from I have this written down because I cannot pronounce it.
Yeah.
Themyscira, something like that, where Diana grew up.
Oh, yes.
With the other Amazons, where she reluctantly gets accepted into training by her mother and aunt, and she becomes a warrior, but learns her true destiny is more to do with gods and monsters. And I think we're set near Greece because of the Zeus mentions.
Yeah.
I'm just putting my maths together because obviously that's where Zeus is famous.
There you go.
In Greece.
You're probably right.
And in their quiet, peaceful town, when she unlocks her powers, she accidentally brings down Chris Pine's plane. And she learns that there are men in this world, and they're not evil. Well, not all of them, apart from the Germans. Now, this world that we get sent into, do we like the characters that we meet here, or are they very generic? A mother, an aunt, and other soldiers.
What do you think? That's a good question.
I'm going to say pretty much yes. You could easily say Connie Nelson as the mother is Anthony Hopkins from Thor. You could say the trainer is the reluctant. We've seen these sort of ones where the side character secretly trains. You could put, and this works. It works. It does what it needs to do. It shows us the world she's coming from is a beautiful, peaceful place, and she's walking into a conflict zone. So everything works for what we need it to do.
Yes. One of the things about me is that I tend to think in generalities and not specifics when it comes to movies. And quite often, I probably shouldn't say this because I want to be known as a movie critic because I want people to trust me, but I have to be real with you. Sometimes I get these outlandish ideas and they don't stand up factually. So I haven't measured the time that they're on the island, is what I'm trying to say. But to me, it seemed like an extremely long time. As you know, because we've all seen it, we're in spoiler territory. That seemed like a long time. It really was long. And I don't think all the fighting was totally necessary to show how she grew up. I felt it could have been done in, I will say one positive. You get to see Robin Wright Penn. She gets to be in it quite a bit. But most of that, I was waiting for it to get going. I wanted her to get off the island. So, I forget what your original question was, but for me, I feel like it was, really too long. The island was too long.
See, I think it helps build the character. Like, one of the bigger flaws in some of the other scenes, other films, is that you just don't get to meet the origin enough. And this is an origin story, and I think something I slightly skipped over is the fact that this is her flashback. Like, she's looking at the photo that we did see in BVS, and she gets to see just where she's come from and when she first entered this world.
Yeah.
And how far she's come.
But you're fairly analytical. Would you say minutes-wise that's like 15 minutes? Or how long would you say that is, that whole period of her life?
Pre-Steve Trevor appearance, I would say 15. With Steve Trevor, you have probably another 10.
Yeah, because I was being nice when I said 15. It felt to me like 30 minutes, and I know it probably wasn't. That's why I prefaced it that way. I haven't checked. But to me, something could be 5 minutes, but it could seem really long. So I know it's not 5 minutes, but I had and one other issue with the movie. I'll talk about it later, but that was kind of an issue for me. I just was sort of like, okay, the Amazons, we get it, but that's not in my consciousness of Wonder Woman,
I think in these scenes we get to see one of the most important scenes that doesn't really get flashed back on enough, and that is the fact that she doesn't really know what to do in a battle. She's quite happy to run into battle, but she sort of finds herself lost in it, and the other soldiers know how to battle, even if they don't make it. And somehow she makes it, even though she's learning who she really is. This is an identity film, really. Like, she learns how powerful she actually is. And we get to meet Steve Trevor, which adds all the comedy to this, because, let's face it, there's plenty of innuendo-based jokes between the two of them, including the bathtub scene, or the hot springs, whatever they are. Yes. But we know that Chris Pine has come from war, where he tells us of his heroics because he is a pilot or a spy, American spy working undercover in the Germans to find out what they're creating and to see whether they can end the war. From an evil scientist called or nicknamed Dr. Poison, or Dr. Isabella Maru, has been creating nerve bioweapons of sorts, all the stuff. They don't really cover over it too much, but basically something that's just going to kill people instantly in the most horrifically painful way. And so he wants to try and save the world from her, and she wants to go and prove that she's ready to go and fight to save the people. She doesn't want to just sit and watch it happen, or not watch it happen, even if she has the overrunning urge that it's Ares come back to kill everybody. And Chris Pine's like, sure, it's Ares, come along, we'll catch Ares, and stop the war. Because he's pretty much a skeptic, let's be honest. Yes. But wouldn't anybody be a skeptic at this stage? I think that's fair to say.
The thing with Ares, I almost felt like they kind of got themselves in some deep mud with that, because, and I know that's the original story, but they made Ares be a guy who's at a desk.
Let's try and go through the story before we reveal whether Ares is true. or what? Because I think that's also quite important to the story.
Weren't you kind of thinking, I mean, I don't know, maybe you've read the whole comic book, I don't know, but weren't you kind of thinking, geez, this is going to really suck for this innocent young lady to find out that there is no Ares? You know, I was kind of thinking, how is she going to handle that? How is that going to be? And that never really happens, but we'll get there in a minute.
We do get a glimpse of that, shall we say. But I think we should just... We sort of mentioned the island women, the Amazons, and I think we should mention the crew that Trevor puts together. All pretty much a couple of well-respected actors in there, and Yul Bremner and Saeed Taghmaoui. That is probably not pronounced correctly, playing Samir and Charlie, and you can see the horrors of war that they've experienced, especially in Charlie. And you can see that Diana doesn't really know how to react to this, because she's never seen a war like this. All she's ever known is swords and jump kicking people. And
those looks on her face when she starts to say, why do people kill each other? I don't know if she uses that line exactly that I just said, but to that effect, why do people do this to each other? Something like that. To me, that's getting into one of the main reasons that I really love this film. So I'll just put that as a just kind of a little precursor, and maybe later I'll get to talk about that. Just the fact that she cares for humanity, even though it is so dang stupid.
Yes, and she doesn't know whether to agree with Steve when he says you've just got to get the mission, you can't save everybody. I think that's one of the big lines I saw in the film, because you cannot... If they were to complete their mission, you can't save everybody in war. Especially as one that was as pointless as that one. For as they make a big point of saying how they were fighting over just inches of dirt. So
yes.
I will like to go into the villains now. So
let's do it.
Dr. Moreau as the evil scientist. Love the imagery of that character. Love the psychic side of this character. I think it's one of the more interesting villains, but of course we know it's only the side villain. But I do feel it was heavily borrowed from Hellboy.
You think?
I do. If you watch the very first Hellboy, a lot of it is about World War. I think they use Rasputin, the Russian one, who wants to create weapons, and he has scientists working for him as they want to open the gates to hell, which would then release, same sort of thing. And I love, because I think Danny Huston is an incredible actor, as the evil Ludov, who does drugs to become stronger.
Yes.
Which I think works really well, because you've got two disposable villains. I think that's the clear word to use here. We don't need to constantly have a monster villain, especially in the intro film. You don't need something stupid for them to be. You just need them to do something to end the war or end the conflict they find themselves in the middle of. So I think those two are a great choice for villain. And I know you want to go into the reveal of Ares.
Yeah. Well, I do. I like what's the actor's name? I like him too. He's got that. He almost reminds me of the guy from the original RoboCop, and I don't know his name. He recently passed away, but the both of them, they just remind me so much of each other. The guy who plays the evil character in RoboCop. He was in like tons of 80s movies. Do you know his name?
I don't know which one. There's a lot of
I forget his name. Anyway, they look alike, and but yeah, that he's scary, and you keep wondering what's going to happen to him. You know, he's getting strong, but at the expense of his sanity, or what's going to happen. But yeah, as far as the Ares, just to kind of pick up from what I said earlier, it is. I feel, it would have been better if she would have just come to understand that there is no Ares and that was like a myth, or there were two worlds, one behind that bubble or that dome, and then one, outside it where there was no Ares. But to have an actual character and call him Ares, and again, it's probably part of the comic book, so you can't get out of it. Just like The Walking Dead, I have the same problem every week, don't you? You think, well, that's a dumb thing. Well, it's the comic book. We're just following the comic book, which they don't really do anyway. But that's another discussion.
I would say these try and go into a different direction, but I'll tell you why in a bit.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna finish up. She was so innocent, and I think that really was important to when she became Wonder Woman. As far as I'm concerned, when she got on that airport runway and she was dealing with what was happening there, and Chris Pine had just died. I had to think for a minute if we were in spoilers. She thought to herself, I'm going to be Wonder Woman. I think that's where she became the superhero, don't you?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. You can tell me where. But to still be going for, and have the guy turn into Ares, in full regalia, threw me off a bit. But as you always tell me, Darren, it's a comic book, so, can't be realistic National Geographic biography. It's a comic book. But I would have liked to see them work that in a more human way for her to say, Ares is an ideal. Ares is not a, dragon or whatever shapeshifter.
Okay, well, for me, the scene where she becomes Wonder Woman is the scene when she first walks out of the trench and destroys the Germans to save the town. That's the first scene when I think she truly thinks that she's the one that can stop the war.
Okay.
That's fair to say. Going in to the Ares storyline, I will say it works for the character because she's built on gods and monsters. Like, that's her religion, if you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that there was a god called Zeus and there was an evil person called Ares, the god of war, who wanted conflict and were put into a massive war conflict. Mm-hmm. That if you look at other war scenarios that are fought over gods and monsters, whichever you want to use, this gives her all the motivation because she knows that she is facing the god that is causing the pain. So I am happy. I'm not happy with the fight scene, but I'm happy that we played out the Ares thing, because that battle with Ares shows her who she truly is, and that's the final part of her discovery journey.
Yeah.
Like, as we know, she's just a warrior with a strange amount of power. She's thrown into a new land.
Yeah.
We don't know what's happening. She doesn't know all of her powers, but when she fights and defeats Ares, she gets to learn who she really is, and she never knew the truth, which I think is important.
Yeah, it is. Clearly, I don't have a whole lot of knowledge of the 1980s television show because I just was always on, but I never really analyzed it as a child. But it was very similar to they had this other show called The $6 Million Man, The Bionic Man. They had Knight Rider was another one. They had a lot of characters, who were just like the heroes that would go through these different episodes and stuff. That's kind of what she did. So I don't think she ever really got that deep in thinking, these humans, but maybe she did. I don't know. But to me, at the end of the movie, just like I was talking with, our friend Rob about Superman, your favorite character in all of literature, but we actually like it here. But he was saying how
there's a reason why you both like him.
Why?
He's a very American superhero.
A
lot of these superheroes are designed to be America can get saved by a man in tights and a cape.
Yeah, It's all about connection. You have to find some connection, and I don't think you have that connection. But one thing that we did talk about with Superman is that he is like a savior figure. You know, he's giving up what he could have to help people. Spider-Man's a little like that too. Maybe all superheroes are in a way, but she's kind of like that. And she says, "Hey." Well, she doesn't say it, but she just shows it once she realizes that people are so flawed and they're probably going to wipe themselves out with war, but she's still going to be their superhero. So I like to sit down when I think about a movie and like, what is the real things I liked about this? 'Cause I like so many things. And to me, that was like the number 2 thing that I liked about it. It was the fact that it has a character that is caring and risking everything for people when she herself is not a person. You know, she's from another place. But she sees something in people, especially in the one she falls in love with, Chris Pine's character. And I found that moving. I found that it was exciting. It makes you want to go, oh, I want to see the next one. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So if that was your second best thing, what was your favourite thing about this movie?
Oh gosh, Darren, you're going to force me to talk about costumes? No. I'll put it this way. The best thing I liked about this movie was the fact that it was so universal. And because I was with my kids and my wife, and I looked around, there's all these different ages of people, and they were all cheering, you know, at the end, in the middle, and I thought that was my favorite part, was the fact that it appeals not only to like a Quentin Tarantino audience or, you know, a Disney audience, but to a really universal audience. And that has really been borne out when I do the rounds and read the blogs that I subscribe to. Of course, all my friends have reviewed this. I don't know anybody. I haven't come across anybody, maybe you have, Darren, that didn't like it yet. Everybody's loving it.
I think I've met people who like it over love.
Okay.
I know someone who didn't like that we didn't really see the journey, if you get what I mean. We ended up from the island, then we're in London, then we're in Europe, and they would have liked something in between, like where you're learning more about what she's learning.
There you go.
But that's other discussions.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my favourite part was the scene when she finally goes to full costume and just takes out all the Germans and inspires them all to go over the top and defeat them, and saves that town, and the aftermath of saving that town, and how great she felt, how much she believes she can do, the faith that everyone has in her ability. I think that's the best scene, because it also builds probably the most heartbreaking scene of the movie as well, when that town does get destroyed by the villains.
Yeah.
But what would be the one thing that or a few things you didn't like about this movie?
Yeah, well, there were 2 parts that I felt were too long. I thought that the origin story, when they were showing her how to fight and all that, boring. But I've already said that. It is important later, though, to have that foundation. That was something my wife reminded me of, because later when you see her sort of just like a little schoolgirl in love, you know, that probably wouldn't work unless you really understood the island she came from had no men and no technology. So, you know, it had to be set that way. But yeah, I thought that part was too long. If I had something to do with it, I would have made that part shorter. Let's see. The other thing was the war scenes and pretty much everything surrounding World War I. I think all they really needed to do was establish that they were creating a gas, because in World War I, my great-grandpa was in World War I, and he actually got a Purple Heart because he was gassed, and he was never the same after. I mean, I was very little. I didn't really know him that well. But I'm very close to him. Like, I think about him a lot. because he used to do ham radio stuff with people all over the world. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, podcast and blogging is kind of like ham radio nowadays. But I mean, he had some of that equipment that you see in the movie World War One, and he was really into ham radioing, but he was never quite the same. So that was a personal thing to me when I saw that Dr. Poison was developing this gas that was going to kill people. That was powerful. But to me, that was like about all they needed to do, was just that. You know, instead they chose to make a lot of the movie in the war fields. I know we had the same sort of argument, Darren, when we were talking about Mel Gibson and Andrew McCarthy's film. What was that called again?
Hacksaw Ridge.
Hacksaw Ridge, yeah. Potential to be a great film, but it's all about war, so I think you're going to turn off a certain demographic and people who don't like war films. So I didn't really get into that one as much. Although I agree with your points, that's a good film. I kind of feel the same way about this. They just put too much of it in there. Now you go ahead and tell me why I'm wrong.
Well, I would say they are slightly different. I think the Mel Gibson one's trying to show the reality of the war. This one needs to show us the war because Diana doesn't know what war is. Mm-hmm. She needs to see the horrors. She can't save the day if she doesn't see the suffering that these people have to go through or have had. That's such an important plot for the Diana character to become the Wonder Woman. She gets to see how evil this Ares truly is. So it inspires her in the battle at the end.
Okay. Did you think that the war scenes, the war segment, which is really kind of the last 2/3, is all a war segment, but did you think they needed to show the war as much, or did you feel they could have done without?
I don't think they showed barely any of it, though. They had a bit in the trenches, which she gets to see.
Well, it was the setting there. It was the setting.
It's the setting, but you don't see, like, Saving Private Ryan with bullets going through people's heads.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. That wasn't why. I just thought...
the story of why she was there had to have everything in the war. If she had just gone from London straight to Germany and hadn't seen the horrors, she wouldn't have been ready for that fight.
Yeah.
And she would have lost. But because she saw the evil that...
I'm sorry. Yeah, yes, you answered my question. I think they probably needed that. But I'm so excited because I went to my post and I realized what the other thing was. I made that up about how everybody loved it. I like that too, but the slow motion fighting.
Again, I didn't mind it. The thing is, what you were doing is, there wasn't that much. It's just the fact it's trying to capture so much at once.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to watch like 4 characters, but if you do it slow motion, you can see what's happening behind. Right. It's a lot, I think, to do with the iSense in 3D. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But it was bothering me because there was another reason. Other than her love for a flawed humanity, what I wrote about was that she... I wrote a blog post a day, okay, you guys out there? Sometimes more. So don't blame me. Don't think I have a bad memory. I do. I just write a lot of stuff. But yeah, I'm really glad that I looked back on that because I'm sure you guys out there, anybody listening, I'm sure you realize you would agree with me that the slow motion fighting is incredible. That one where she's kind of like on her side, she's doing a side kick, and she goes completely 360. Oh, that's cool.
Well, my least favourite thing about the movie is also fight sequence based, but I actually understand why it's in there, but I just didn't like it. I didn't like the fight with Ares because I felt we'd had a reasonably grounded movie. Where, yes, she has a few powers, and then they have Ares, and it's like, let's just blow everything up and have like.
But it's a comic book movie. I feel the same way as you.
No, that's not the reason why it works. We have to reverse.
That's the reason why you have to let it go.
You reverse back to when Christopher Nolan gave us Batman. every single one of his Batman movies it could be classed as a crime movie. They're all human villains, or they're all trained, skilled fighters. They're not supernatural nonsense. Then we have the Zack Snyder creation of the Superman and the Batman vs Superman, and because the world is bigger than just a billionaire fighting crime, we have to have the over-the-top sort of action sequences. I do feel it was unnecessary in places. It could have been shorter, but I also think it has to be there to suit this universe they're creating. It's the big flaw I have in comic books is they have a stupid fight at the end let's blow everything up. Like the only one there's two recently that haven't done that, and that's Logan and Deadpool. So even Deadpool kind of did it, but it wasn't. It was explainable explosions rather than let's just fire stuff out our hands explosions.
Right.
So is there anything else you would like to discuss about Wonder Woman? Taking that as a no.
I guess I would just say, like, to put a question out there for anybody, and if you want to leave it on the Twitter, or reply or comment, if you can feel free to, and you'll win $10,000 because you'll be the first one. I'm just kidding. But like, why? Why do people like this movie so much? I mean, Darren, you and I have been going after movies for about a year now, and we both have done it many years before that. But I mean, I've never seen such a universal attack on a movie, like attack meaning people wanting to go see it. It's incredible, and I do think it's a great movie. But I guess the question is why? Why do you think, Darren?
Part of it is solely because it's the first good female lead superhero movie. I think that's the big thing. They've made such a point of it being the first female. It's not the first female director to do a superhero movie. The first one to pull it off.
Yeah.
And they're just trying to make such a point of it. It's grabbed the attention of a newer market. The fact that it's just a solo movie also helps, because you're not getting caught up in watching 5 superheroes figure out what they're doing this film, including going to find out that somebody has a farm in the middle of Wisconsin or something. So that helps. It is a glorified adventure movie. It could, I'm not going to say it is, but you could compare it to like an Indiana Jones type movie. It's that type of movie. It's a motley crew fighting a villain, and that's always an easy draw. So that's why I think.
And the woman thing doesn't hurt. I mean, men, all kinds of men enjoy looking at women, and apparently, there's a lot of women out there that feel empowered by this film, and they even had some of the opening debuts of the film where they were restricting it to only women to come in, and that must have been kind of a loud audience. So you've got that going on, but I think you could have done it with a male actor. I mean, not Wonder Woman, but I mean, I don't know, what's something that hasn't been done. Is there a comic book person you'd like to see have a movie?
There's all sorts they could do. Like as I say, the solo ones do seem to be the more successful. Like last year we had Deadpool, that came from nowhere.
Yeah. Let's say somebody like Doom. I know there's a character named Doom, right? So let's just say Doom comes out, and if you did the similar formula that they did with this film, I think it could be just as successful. I don't think it's just because she's a woman. I think it was done well.
Need a little bit more marketing. Like, if the Aquaman movie comes out pre-Justice League, you might get the same draw. I don't know if it's coming out before Justice League or after Justice League anymore, because I lose track of the timelines. But the most recent one, in Civil War, we met Black Panther.
Yeah.
That one looks like a character that we really want to see next. So that's going to have the same idea. We had you could say cameo, but supporting role. Spider-Man: Homecoming. They're doing this new thing where they give them an introduction as a supporting character and then give them a film, and you're introducing them to grab the attention in an already fully attached market, and then they go, well, actually, I want to know what this character's about. It's like with the TV, we got Arrow, Flash, and all that, and they're all connected, aren't they? And they all get introduced first, like CSI Miami and CSI New York. They all did it. They all started with CSI Vegas bumping into them, just to give you that little pull in to see if you want to go to this new world. It's something that a clever marketer does.
Yeah.
Shall we say?
Well, yeah, that'd be all I have to say. What I've got from it is that it's not because she's Wonder Woman. It's because that helped in marketing, and that helped bring in a lot of female viewers and male, but probably more female. And I think it's a way of putting together a movie, like you said, where you've got this lowly character that rises up and becomes sort of a savior figure and, kills the bad guys.
Yeah, and she also shows her humanity at the end when she doesn't kill Dr. Poison, because she understands the suffering she's gone through, and that seems like everything's been her revenge rather than, or she has to do it. She's been almost forced into doing it because of what's happened to her.
Right.
But that I would have liked to have seen more of her backstory, to be honest. I feel there's a lot more from both of those two villains we should have learnt more from. But
I agree with that.
This does fall into the Titanic syndrome, where it's meant to be her flashback and we randomly have shots of what the Germans are doing. Just, why not? She's meant to be remembering her story, but you see things that have nothing to do with her. A bit like Titanic with Rose's flashback, and you see Billy Zane and Jack running around doing stuff without her even there, like she knew what they were up to.
Yeah, but see, I didn't even catch that, and I'll bet you most people won't even think of that. But you're right, if you're going to be real strict about a flashback. She could be thinking about what they're doing.
Yes, but that just implies it doesn't work. So where would you put this in the comic book film universe? In the top 5? Middle? Bottom half?
I would say, I like that phrase people use, with a bullet, with a bullet meaning going up quick or has a lot of potential. I'd put her, you won't agree with this, of course, but I would say definitely above Superman. You probably think Superman should go way, way down, or even not even beyond there, but above Superman, below Spider-Man, but with a bullet.
So you're saying what?
I think she came in a little, almost as significant as Spider-Man, more significant than Superman, but she's got a bullet, and I think the next movie she does will, sky's the limit. She could keep going. She could take number 1 spot, but I don't think she's there now. I don't know who's number 1, but I kind of
in the modern, as I say, the DCU universe or the Marvel universe, I would say she's easily number 1 of the DC universe now, and she's getting into the top 5 when you put her up against the Marvel characters. Yeah. Technically, we did lose Wolverine this year.
Yeah.
So Wolverine probably is the number 1, I think, because of the longevity. It's Marvel.
Okay. So. See, you guys probably already picked up, I'm not a big comic book fan, but I love the movies, and so Darren's more he knows all the stats on those.
And the only people I would probably put above is Iron Man, even though I think he's a completely boring Captain America. I have a soft spot for the Thor character. I like mythology. I would put her above Spider-Man because we recast him too often. We're in the 3rd one in the same amount of time as Hugh Jackman was Wolverine. So
you have to, next time we do this, let's try and define it by some criteria, like in terms of audience draw, because then that would be something I could think of more clearly. If you just say where do you rank them, but you have no criteria, it's harder to do that.
You can do it as the film.
Okay. The film.
In comic book movies, where would you put Wonder Woman then? In the modern universes.
Right now, she's one.
In the modern universes, as that's what I mean, she's number 1 for DC, but she would probably be number 3 or 4 if you included some of the older Batman movies.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight is the granddaddy. Batman Begins is phenomenal.
I like this guy, folks. He has got a mind for comic books, and I'm being real right now. I'm not being sarcastic. Darren has
never read a superhero comic book.
No, but you know about the characters. That's good.
But that's finishing our Wonder Woman discussion. So we have a quick look to see what else we've been suffering through or watching with pleasant smiles. So, Damien, what have you been
watching? Can I go first? Yeah. I watched a lovely little film known as Fist Fight 2017, and boy, this was an enjoyable experience for me. I've been wanting to see it for a while because my friend Mr. Brandon at my work, he's always coming through my room and saying hello. We talk about movies sometimes, and he told me, I really want to see Fist Fight. And the first thought I had in my mind was, give me a break. I would never see Fist Fight. That looks like the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I said, why do you want to see it? He said, I don't know. It's just the thought of two teachers beating each other up is really funny to me. I couldn't get that out of my head because I am a teacher. So, I would definitely never get into Fist Fight. That would be death for me. But just to watch Ice Cube and Charlie Day, first of all, watching them be two teachers in an inner city Los Angeles high school was hilarious enough. That was funny. But then to watch Ice Cube challenge Charlie Day to a fist fight in the parking lot, and you wouldn't think that'd be enough for a movie, but it really is. His wife's pregnant. He's like the geek, the dorky teacher, Charlie Day, and Ice Cube's all schooled from the street and he's clean his clock. It's hilarious, and I was really laughing throughout. Not boring. The critics didn't like it, but I tell you what, this critic did like it. You should go see it. If that sounds interesting to you, that kind of humor, then you should go see it. It's on the level of like an Adam Sandler comedy.
You've just ruined selling that movie to anybody.
No, okay. Yeah, it's not Adam Sandler style. It's different, but that kind of like stupid Happy Gilmore.
Any sort of comedy on Adam Sandler.
Hey, he sold a lot of movies, pal.
he not good ones though. Not since the 90s.
This Fight is not Adam Sandler, but it is really funny.
Well, I will watch eventually. It's nowhere near the top of my list because even though I think Charlie Day's funny, I'm a bit tired of Ice Cube. I went for something slightly more serious. I actually watched The Zookeeper's Wife at last.
Yeah.
And it was pretty much a hard film to watch.
Mm-hmm.
About the woman and her husband who, I don't like the titles called Zookeeper's Wife, but it's a husband and wife team working together to save Jews during the World War II through their zoo, based on the true story. And it's quite incredible to see, with powerhouse performances from Jessica Chastain and Daniel Bruhl. My God, this bloke is amazing as a villain. We know him more from Rush as Niki Lauda, but he is so dark. He could make you hate him in like a blink of an eye. You knew you were going to hate him in this movie.
Can I just say, even though this is what you've been watching, just to throw it in there, I have seen this as well. It is an amazing film. I think I gave it a perfect score. I think I took away one for length. Usually that's where I take away from films, when they just do certain stuff too long. But as a whole, it was almost a perfect film to me. And I just wanted to say that it's based on a true story, and you can actually go to this place where this happened. I don't want to spoil it, but basically, people were saying,
Warsaw Zoo. It's called the Zoo.
There you go. You can go to this zoo and see the location. Of course, you'd have to, fly to Germany, or it's Austria, isn't it? Poland. Okay, I was close. But yeah, worth the price of a ticket, worth renting. And I just think the critics and the ads, they don't do it justice. This movie's not like a real pastoral type, la la la, here we are in the zoo. The animals are really cute. So if you have kids, it'd be good to teach them the history by showing them the animals. But as a story, it's not gory either. There's nothing like that in it. As a story, it really grips you. Not Schindler's List, but getting over toward that. It's really a great film.
Yes, very much. And good job you're not a geography teacher.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I just didn't pay attention during the movie. I know where Poland is, but yeah.
In fact, it's the Warsaw Zoo. Should have been
Warsaw. Yeah. Okay.
It's in Poland.
Yes. Yes.
So,
my son wants to be a history teacher, not me.
a lot to go through, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be a big year of history. 4 years of history in America to talk about for years.
Good Lord. Yeah. And you know what I'm finding out though, Darren? Seriously, honestly, I have gotten in arguments with people about Trump, and I'll tell you what, I tend to be anti-Trump. I'm just going to say that. I hope people still listen to me when we do movies and stuff, but I tend to be anti-Trump, but I'm finding out that a lot of people, they just want this country to be okay. And I've been talking to some people that like Trump, and so when we say stuff about Trump, it's like we're kind of joking. We're not a political show, but I try and keep an open mind to where they're coming from. It's just, I don't know, and I don't know what it's like over there. Aren't you guys dealing with something now too?
It's the usual nonsense.
Somebody's running, aren't they, for office or?
We had an election. We don't need to get into politics on the show. We can save that for after the show.
Yeah, it's a mess out there, but movies are great because we can see human people doing human things, and they can believe however they want. I'm waiting for the Donald Trump movie to come out.
Yes, I'm sure. Alec Baldwin will get an Oscar for that.
There you go.
But that's going to conclude our show today. So you can find Damien on Riley on Film.
Yes.
And you can find me at moviesreview101.com.
And as soon as I finish hanging out on this island with all these women, then I will swim back and I'll check my comments. So if you want to communicate with me, just leave me a comment. I am going to be on this island for a little while, though, so you might not hear back right away.
And we'll hopefully be back with another show soon.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. Thank you all for listening.
Yes. Thank you very much.
And we're out.